Welcome back from the commercial break. Here we are, this is Family Hour. We are looking at the controversy on women leadership. And we really went through a lot of some of the arguments against women in leadership. And so we want to look at now institutions that are led by women and where the strength of the women is. Then, what is the secret about women, especially when it gets to leadership?
That's a very very big gender argument. You have to be very careful in this day and age, especially if you lead on both sides of the divide. But the advantage of women women in leadership is that it improves fairness. Because women understand what women go through, they are more likely to give a point of fairness. They will be fair. When it comes to a woman in leadership, she's going to look at the gender aspect of a decision where a man will not. Men rarely look at gender aspects of a decision. Now, that doesn't mean that you favor women. It means that we are not on equal footing. We're really not on equal footing. Take an example, a wife who's a boss. She's a wife, she's a mother, she takes care of her home. Some people don't have maids or domestic helpers. And so she has to be at work at the same time as you. She perhaps is the one picking the children from school. I have this argument because we're coming up with a women's conference. And so we're trying to figure out why we're not having a lot of more women's physical presence, but more online presence. And then the argument is that women have to go and pick children from school. And I said, but it's just 1 week. Can't men pick the women? Can men pick the children from school? But it seems like it's a divide of roles. Men feel that if I drop in the morning, pick. I'm not around, so go and pick the children. And so she can't attend to her other spiritual needs and other things that she needs spiritually because she has to pick children from school. She has a PTM meeting to attend. Both parents probably have to be there and they're striving to be there. There's the graduation of a child she has to show up for. She's manning the home. There are organizational things that she has to do in a home. When you have guests, men just invite guests at home. He doesn't understand that you need to make sure the home looks decent, for people, the cups, the thing. The man has just invited his friends.
Just send out invitations.
You send invitations and inform, I have a couple of people coming over. And she looks at you like you're growing horns out of your head, because indeed you are. How do you invite someone to your home? The person is thinking the place needs to be cleaned. We probably haven't renovated. What kind of people are coming? Do we have food? What's the kind of food? What are the dietary needs of the children, of the people? What's the dynamic with the children being bed? Will I have to look after the children and give them a very terrible eye because they're jumping over the guests?
Isn't that being so detailed?
No. That's how you're wired as a woman. You're wired to take care of the home because it speaks volumes. Let me tell you, there's no one who sits in her home and says everybody can come in and they are comfortable with the way that it appears. You should see that dynamic. I laugh. If my parents are 42 years in marriage, it still happens. My father still just invites people. My mother, on the other hand, and I am always siding with her. I don't stay with them, but I'm always siding with her because I look and say, it's more than just hosting people. Gone are the days where you could do things back and forth, but it's not that easy. So the dynamic, that gender aspect, a woman brings that gender aspect in her decision making. And so it brings about fairness in the workspace because she's looking at the extra things that the policies may not cover, that life may not cover. But if a woman calls and says, I woke up with my child sick, I can't make the meeting, can I do it online instead? She's not going to berate her. She's going to say, take it online as much as you can, or come in a bit later and we'll see what to do. I hope she's going to say that. She's not going to say, Edrine is coming in at this time, Diana must come in at this time. Edrine, if the child is sick, is going to throw the child to the mother. And he's going to move on with his life. But the child in that sales is going to be crying for the mother. And so even in the workspace, she needs to figure out what to do. So what the leadership of a woman brings into is that gender aspect of fairness, a balance, equality that would not have been seen and cannot be seen by a man. For men, we need to train them a bit more to see that gender aspect. There are those who have naturally been trained and so they can come up with it, but as a woman, that's what it does. It creates fairness. The other is organizational dedication. You know, I always find male bosses prefer working with women. They do. Most male bosses, at least the ones that I know lately, they always prefer women in their department because they like to use women. Not in the sense of sexual, I'm meaning in the sense of women will give you their best. A woman's not likely to leave a workspace. If she's getting a salary, if she seems stable, if she sees somewhere growing up, especially if she's not your ambitious kind or excuse me. She's not your ambitious kind or the kind that is climbing the ladder very fast. The ones who have settled in marriage, more likely than not, will stay in the job. And so men love to have women because they are loyal. They're not likely to move from place to place. They're not likely to jump from job to job. They're not likely to do all the things that young men are doing. Now Edrine could have 5 jobs, but a woman is going to have one and at most a side business. Yeah. So that organizational dedication, the fact that she's going to strive there, is what a woman brings to leadership. You can trust, if you're looking for business continuity, you can trust that a woman will give you that. She'll be there. She will be there, she will slave, she'll give you that. Now it's different when you have the young, ambitious people who are climbing the ladder and see, and went into a space and ask, what's my role here? If I see a dead end, and particularly me, if I see a dead end and I don't see an opportunity to get a seat at the table, I don't see any reason to continue. Yeah, because I will figure this is a training ground, a place that I can train to be a better person. I'll have an end in mind, and when that end comes, it will be done. We will be done with our contractual relationship.
Okay.
And so the only thing that could tie me down would probably be if I have a family to look over. But you see, when you don't have that, it's easy to move from place to place. The other thing about women-led organizations is that they enhance collaboration. Women like to work together. Men like to compete. And I'm not saying women don't compete, because we also have that streak. A few of us also have that streak, especially if you're choleric. More likely than not, you'll find it within you, you will compete. But what we have as what women do is that they like to work in teams, and they will find ways to collaborate, to put teams together so that they can produce the best. Because women naturally and nurturers on the inside of them, and because of that nurturing thing, they want people to work together. They see value in people coming up with a project and delivering on it. And so because of that, they will enhance collaboration. They will encourage teamwork. They will encourage people not to act as if they are singularly on their own, but to work as a team. And so that is what women are going to bring. A man will use divide and rule, fast as possible. Whoever delivers to me first, is the person. Yeah. But the best thing that you will do in enhancing collaboration is to build a team. And so she may not give you the productivity that you want or the results that you want, but you find that she's at the core building teams. I don't think anyone builds teams the way women do. Women build teams and they give you a formidable result at the end. And I even see it in church. If you put 2 things, one to be led by a woman and one to be led by men, and I acknowledge that there are more women in church than men, but if you put 2 together, you'll find the women-led group always has teams. The man-led group is militant or is really dictatorial. So it's that's what happens when you have a woman at the top. That dynamic is different, and so you have women. The other that you'd have is it increases productivity. Why? Because women have spent time developing a team. By the time they reach the level of production, it's going to be like a dam has burst forth. And so productivity happens because people are satisfied at group level. People are satisfied at what they are getting. People's ideas have been incorporated because they are working as a team. There's no individualism in that working. And so their productivity increases. It naturally increases. You have that when you have a woman in the place of leadership. And so those are the few things that you miss when you don't have women in the leadership position.
Wow, you're talking about women in leadership. There's a conference you talked about that is upcoming. I'd like you to share with us about the Alabaster Conference.
Alabaster.
Alabaster. Is it Alabaster Women's Conference or
Alabaster Ladies Conference.
Alabaster
but I don't mind if you call it
Conference.
women either.
Okay.
I don't want, because it's really ladies and women are the same.
What's the difference between a lady and a woman?
That's a dynamic we should not get into. it's a very difficult dynamic that we should get into.
Okay.
Let's just say ladies.
Okay. Alabaster Ladies Conference.
So the conference started about 13 years ago. I was a youth chairperson at the time, and I was very concerned about the issues I was receiving as a young person. I was in my early 20s, and I'd been thrown at the helm of the leadership of the youth. And I would sit at church, and I would receive, counseling from the young girls that would come for counseling. And some people had been abused. Some people were struggling with workspace. Esteem was usually the biggest issue. There were so many issues that were arising from young people. A couple of them had not been through, a couple of them had been through. My only solution for them was, let us pray together. And that was insufficient to deal with the emotional trauma and the trauma that people had gone through. And so I thought to myself, but there are older ladies that have gone ahead of me. There are people who understand and maybe have walked this path, because it's true that there's nothing new under the heavens, there's nothing new under the sun. And so I said, why don't you create a platform where women come together for a week, where you have women in their 60s and above, 40s and above, 20s and above. Those generations just come together for a week, sit with one another, fellowship, interact with one another, meet with one another, share a meal with one another, dress up and play girls with one another, talk about relationships with one another, even discuss professionalism amongst one another. If I could just create that space, then the younger ladies would be able to cross the divide. And the problem with us as the traditional church is that you have sections of people, interested groups among this church. You have Mothers Union, Christian women, the younger group, young marrieds. And so because people are locked up in their groups, they never reach out to the other group. And when they do, they come from a place of talking down at them. And that's a dynamic I suffered as a youth chairperson. I mean, people would talk down to me what they thought I needed to know. I said, create a space that is safe enough for this 18, 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 85 to get together. So that when you get together, you can discuss life's issues. You realize at 18, the problems you're going through are not novel. They may differ in how they appear, but it's not novel, it's not new. This 35-year-old has been through it. This 55-year-old has been through it. And so that space, the ladies, the idea was to have ladies meet together. And so on the 16th of August, we'll be having we start with overnight. I love to start with overnight. I believe in prayer, solely in prayer. And so 16th, we'll be having an overnight prayer just to start off the conference and go through up to the 25th, where you'll have a professional breakfast, you'll have a luncheon, you'll have relational talk. Women, we need relational talks. So this gender called male has marginalized us too much. We need to have that conversation. No, we don't. We talk about different issues. We empower the women. I'm glad that the men's conference comes right before. So I hope that the men will also engage and be able to also deal with their issues. Over the years, I found that many times we deal with women issues and we think we're getting it right. But if the man is not dealt with, these issues of the women are never going to survive. They are never going to come to the forefront. And so I love that the dynamic is that the men and the women are almost side by side. But mine is really just to interest women in this place. Interest them, because we are creating a wholesome woman. You deal with the spiritual aspect, you deal with relational aspects, you deal with the home aspects, you deal with the professional aspects, you deal with just even the aspects, and then over time you have a mentorship program that runs for a year. I think it's a really good space for women to get involved in, especially in this season. Okay. Especially this season, I say why this season, because we talk about, this year we're talking about restoration. And our hope is that we'll deal with restoration. What have you lost as a woman? Have you lost maybe a job? Maybe a job, maybe finances. Maybe you feel that time has left you behind. Maybe you feel that you're no longer joyful. So we want to speak to that woman that needs to be restored, and that's where we're going for this year.
So is it open to every woman, or only those that have been wounded side by side?
I hope I didn't give the aspect that people are wounded, so they should come. No, it's open to
restoration. Someone would think, thinking about a restoration from a point of pain.
All of us need it. You need restoration. I need restoration, because I believe there are things that I've lost. I've lost time in certain things. I've lost fortunes in this season. I've lost favor, I've lost joy, because life can be hard. If we're honest about the season we're in, life is hard. It's really hard. It's beating down on everybody. And trust me, nobody has been spared. It doesn't matter how rich you are. Nobody has been spared. There is something in your life that needs to be restored. And I believe that when we call women, really we have a teen session. So there's a section set apart for the teens. You have the teens and above up to the other side. So it's open for every woman, regardless of who you are. It's happening at All Saints Cathedral. And so regardless of who you are, it's open for you to come and attend, to come and be a part of, to participate and to enjoy. And we have dynamic speakers. Actually, we have Irene Kauma, Miss Irene Kauma, who will be the theme expositor this year. Very sound woman, great in the workspace, great in the spiritual space. She's going to be doing just the theme exposition. You have the KCCA ED, Dorothy Chisaka, who will also be coming to speak to the ladies. You have Dr. Patricia Chan, who will also be coming to speak to us about profession. So you have a dynamic of women who have made it in the workspace, and you want to hear from them. And the thing I love about it is it's free of charge, absolutely free of charge to every woman. Just make it there physically. Of course, there'll be online for those who are out of jurisdiction or far from Kampala, but as much as possible, we encourage women to be physically present.
You've said be there, but you've not told them the venue.
I did. I said All Saints Cathedral. All Saints Cathedral is the venue. It's Kampala. There's another one. Yes, there are many others. But All Saints Cathedral, Kampala, just from the 16th of August, which is just a few days away, 16th of August to the 25th. Yes. You have the physical teachings at 5:30 in the evening. So rather than go home to go and pick children, please let the man pick children for a week. Let the man find out how he gets food for a week. You can cook in the morning and leave for him. I'm sure he can use microwave. Okay. There's been a microwave discussion. He can use the microwave to warm his food and just come. Make it a point to be at the cathedral.
So you said 5:30 to what time?
5:30 to 7:30 in the evenings.
Daily?
Yes, it's daily.
Apart from the overnight? Apart from the
overnight. So when you come on those other days, then we shall give you the different programs and how it runs. But the concentration really is 5:30 to 7:30 in the evening.
What about someone who would say, I would like to be part of this event? Do you have any arrangements for people who come from far from Kampala? I mean, things like accommodation, feeding.
There's online. There's online. No, it's not a residential conference, but we give the option of online, especially if you're out of Kampala. The beauty about physical presence is that there's a lot of ministry that's done to you physically. Rarely do people go to the people online. And so, but for the people who are out of Kampala, we provide an online option throughout the conference. So there's an online option and a desire for people who are out of that space to come and be a part of it, and they can join online.
You talked about the breakfast, the luncheon. Are all these part of the arrangement? Are all these free of charge?
Yes, the breakfast is free of charge. The breakfast is free of charge. We don't only feed on the breakfast. I mean, even in the what we call girl talk, the relational talk, or you can call it senga talk. If you can, when you have that session, it's a feeding session because you want women to talk about relationships when you're eating. I think they'll be happier when they're eating as opposed to when they're talking. We want
And more free.
We want to avoid crying as much, so we distract you by eating. No, they're free of charge. So we a couple of days in the week where there are fellowship moments, so there's a bit of feeding. So there's a relational talk on Thursday. We even have a worship night just from 6 to 9, which is on a Friday, worship night. Hopefully this year we're having Pastor Brian Lewega, who will be leading us through that worship night. And then you have a professional breakfast where you have women, absolutely amazing women. Dr. Patricia Chan giving the keynote. You have the MD of National Media Group, Ms. Susan Nsubira. You have her worship, the Chief Registrar of the Courts of Judicature, Sarah Suyolanga. You have Robina Lukwago, who's also working with the UN. You have really seasoned women who are in the market space joining us just to give that professional, and it's free of charge. Imagine, free of charge for all the information and things. The luncheon is the only thing that will be charged for because it's off-site. It's not at the cathedral, so it will be charged for. We always charge for the luncheon, but every other thing is free of charge, and that's where you'll have Mrs. Dorothy Chisaka leading us through the luncheon. Yeah, but that's what it looks like.
So the people should save some little money because it's off-site.
Yes.
It's not church premise. So the hosts, of course, are in business now. They need. I mean, that they're hosting the luncheon, the venue. They're in business, so they need some money to keep their business on. That is why they're charging you, but they're not charging you for profit.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
We actually pay over and above what you pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I love the passion. I love the vision. And I believe there is a generation that is being mentored that will stand firm to defend their rights, to defend themselves, of the exploitations that we've seen before. Then what are your parting shots as we wind up this discussion?
Women still face challenges, especially in the authority, as opposed to their male counterparts. And it's a difficult space to navigate, especially if you're a woman in leadership. But my advice for women is get coaches. You'll never go wrong with a coach. You'll never go wrong with a mentor. Don't lose who you are. I think the biggest mistake I made in one of the highest positions I held was to try and be somebody else. There's a place of growth and there's a place of being who you are. So don't lose who you are in the place of leadership, but use that position to promote many young women, many young girls, and also to build the society that you desire to see.
Wow, thank you so much, Dana. And you, just to remind you about the Alabaster conference. I want to be part of this conference. Wow, there is a lot. How I wish there was a provision for men. But I know people like Brinko would like to sneak out, to have a meal, and then leave the event. But it is fully packed to equip you as a woman, as a lady. So kindly be part of this event. Sacrifice this time and be part of this event. I believe your life will not be the same again. Edrine Mukalazi is my name. It's been Family Hour. I will meet again next time, same place.